It's 4 years now since the Bainbridges left this house. It's 1,500 feet up, 7 miles from a proper road. They'd lived here 17 years, brought up 3 children, but one savage winter defeated them. This winter they're returning, just the 2 of them. And for the small community the Bainbridges have rejoined, this winter came early, November the 12th. Leave the A1 at Scotch Corner, then head for Barnard Castle. Travel 10 more miles up the valley of the Tees and you come to a different land. It has a frontier which is clearly and icily defined. Upper Teesdale is a bleak land, still inhabited by a few men and women who work the remote farms, living a life as harsh and unremitting as ever it was. There are other women who can understand. Low Birk Hatt Farm is just over the fell in Baldersdale. It's been Hannah Hauxwell's home since she was 3 years old. Today, she farms its 80 acres alone.
It's all right, thank you. Will Mammy? Ah, dear little beast. Oh, 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 you little beast.
The bullock's for sale. Another neighbour 2 miles away will get it the rest of the way to market.
Yes, but I've managed him. What sort of a trade do you think it's going to be tomorrow?
I think it should be a decent trade.
Yes.
The weather hasn't helped, has it?
No, it hasn't. have a grand do.
Yeah, but
All the best. Good night.
Hannah Hauxwell's bullock goes to market. It's a very important annual event for Hannah. The outcome will affect the contents of this parcel for the whole winter. But Hannah doesn't go to market. It's no place for a maiden lady. The parcel contains her food for the month. It's left on the wall by the gate on the road 1.5 miles away from Low Birk Hatt Farm. Butter, cheese, eggs, tea, sugar, lard, margarine, onions, carrots, bread, tomatoes and 1 tin of spam. The bill, £5, 36 pence. She collects extra bread the same way once a week. Once a year, the man who does the haymaking brings Hannah 2 chickens. On her 80 acres, she copes with 1 milking cow and 2 calves, plus a few cattle she takes in from neighbouring farms. Hannah Hauxwell was left on her own when her mother, the last of her family, died 12 years ago. In the house, there's no electricity, no water on tap. When she wants a cup of tea, she has to go to the stream in the field where the cattle graze.
This is out of Baldersdale, the property of Miss Hawxwell.
£108. Better at least than last year.
The last beast I sold, he made 98 in the auction mart. Of course, there are excess, transport and so forth.
Well, how much money do you get in a year?
I think round about 250, 280 mark, somewhere in there. I take cattle in from other people, and I try to have a beast of my own to sell, and then one gets the subsidies from the cow and the calves. Usually 1 calf, but I have 2 this time.
Well, out of that £280, what sort of things do you have to pay out?
The meal, that's a fairly big thing. The hay timing, of course, one, and the groceries, the coals. The coals are rather an expensive item.
How much is that?
But I think over £30, I think. And but I like a fire. There's one thing I have never economised on. I like a good fire. It's essential. I think I have a system of keeping expenditure down to the very bare necessities. In some, I wouldn't say that I really, in some respects, that I can even afford some necessities, but I keep it down to the bare essentials. I put the brake on and keep it on. It's the only way.
What about food?
Well, food, it's like the other things. I just sort of try to economise.
Well, what did you have for your lunch today?
Butter and bread.
Well, what really keeps you here? What's the tie?
Attached to the place because my family have lived here since my great-grandfather's time. No one else has lived in this house since it was built but our family. And the lovely countryside down the new, through the Iron Gate, down the new road. And I've often thought, sometimes it's my favourite walk. And I've stopped and looked and I've thought, well, it's one thing, if I haven't money in my pocket, it's one thing nobody can rob me of. Nobody can... It's mine. It's mine for the taking. I was born in the Dale at Sleetburn. I can see it from here. And father and mother and other members of the family came to live here when I was 3. And till I don't remember any other home.
What happened the time you were ill, Hannah?
Well, I think I'd got rather down in myself, and I'd been to the doctor, going to see the doctor for quite a while, and he thought I wasn't improving very much, and so he suggested I went to hospital. And I was there for 8 weeks, I think.
Was that the first time you'd spent any length of time away from here?
Oh, yes, it was. I've never spent any time away since.
How did you like it?
Oh, of course I did. I hadn't anything seriously wrong, and everybody was very kind to me. I was very happy there. Made friends. I went a stranger. I knew no one, and I came back. I made 1 or 2 friends.
But it didn't make you feel that you wanted to be somewhere where there were people all the time in the future, did it?
I took rather badly with it when I came back. But of course I gradually got used to the same thing again. But oh, it wasn't the same when I came home at first. Seemed very quiet and no one to talk to.
During winter, Hannah can go for 10 days without seeing another soul. She's 46. There's never been a man in her life. No real prospect of marriage.
Well, that's something that one can't just choose to do. A good marriage is a good thing if one's privileged to meet anyone. I think there's all the difference in the world between a good marriage and being on one's own. But of course, if it isn't a success, well, I think there can be nothing worse than being obliged to share a roof with someone you're utterly at variance with. That's terrible. But that's something, it's in other hands. You can't choose. One can't go into a shop and say, I want a husband. I'm reminded of a very interesting article I read in a Dalesman. I think someone very like me mentioned to her clergyman this question of not finding a husband. And he said, oh, leave the matter in the Lord's hands. And she replied, that's all very well, but up to now, the Lord's made badly out. I think that's it. I leave it at that.
Teesdale can be a brutal land. but it has an inspirational beauty for those who live there.
We had poets in Teesdale, Richard Watson and William Longstaff at Mickleton, and who wrote many nice poems. The lines of these lines, particularly from one of his, I like very much. Lone silent hills, clear singing streams, 'mong them we near to God. Those lines appeal to me very much. My life, that's my picture I see every day and never tire of it.
Have you ever thought of leaving the Dale?
Well, I don't know. I think the time might come when I can't stay here. But as long as I can, I'm very much attached to the place. It's home. As long as I can, I think the old house and me will stay together.
Hannah Hauxwell is a Daleswoman, a spinster, and Britain's most unlikely celebrity. When her story of extreme hardship on an isolated farm was first told nearly 20 years ago, she revealed an inspirational quality which endeared her to the nation. It changed her status materially, but it didn't change Hannah or her way of life. Then, as now, she had her reasons for remaining at Low Birk Hatt.
Attached to the place because my family have lived here since my great-grandfather's time. No one else has lived in this house since it was built but our family. And the lovely countryside, down through the Iron Gate, down the new road. And I've often thought, sometimes it's my favourite walk. And I've stopped and looked and I've thought, well, it's one thing, if I haven't money in my pocket, it's one thing nobody can rob me of. Nobody can, it's mine for the taking.
The old house has few comforts and is especially vulnerable in winter, since it has no running water, and electricity came very late, paid for by public subscription. But the old house has always had music. Hannah's mother was a cultured lady, and she endowed her daughter with an appreciation of art, literature, and particularly music. The organ was brought to Low Birk Hatt by her mother. Christmas 1981 heralded the severest winter for years, but Hannah had no family or friends to share the occasion. Baldersdale once had a proper community with a school, a chapel, and a pub. All gone now, and so has Hannah's family. Hannah, an only child, was stranded more than 25 years ago in a partly abandoned dale, left to cope alone with the ceaseless work of a hill farm. and the burdens of winter in Baldersdale are relentless. Fame of the kind visited upon Hannah Hauxwell is usually a very temporary thing, but the public's affection for her remained constant. The money generated, however, was not spent on Hannah's pressing personal needs. Instead, she invested in more cattle. It may have improved her income, but her workload increased alarmingly. In winter, her cattle stay out in the top pasture day and night, and their survival depends on a daily delivery of fodder.
One's had a few winters over the years, and bad winters, and there's something in my very bones that rebels when the bitterness comes, the snow and the cold and the bitterness. No, I hate it. That's the only expression for it. I know there's a certain beauty which is very nice, but it doesn't appeal to me because I detest it so.
Bill and bed, come on. Zook, 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 zook. Zook. Zook, 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 zook. Bill and bed.
The temperatures are going 15 and 16 degrees below zero, probably more here. How can they survive?
They do fare better in these conditions than in the sleet, cold and sleet and clash, and when their backs are never dry and everything's wet underfoot. And when it's sleet, perhaps rain, and then it turns to sleet and freezes. That's the worst kind of weather for animals.
And quite apart from the animals, Hannah, how about yourself? How are you looking after yourself all on your own down here?
Well, I have to do what I can. Now, I don't do so badly, but sometimes in winter time, well, I haven't always time to get a meal, much less cook one. All my time and energy is taken up with looking after the cattle. I don't get about as swiftly as, there again, one doesn't walk about as quickly as they used to, and or do things as easily.
Yes, Hannah, you're not getting any younger, and your health isn't perhaps as good as it could be. How many winters like this can you stand, do you think?
I don't know. I'll just have to see. That's the only thing, to hope for the best and just see how it goes. That's life. We just have to travel on as we can.
And the opportunity to travel became one of the benefits of Hannah's celebrity status. She was 46 when she first became known, and she had rarely left the Dale, just annual chapel outings, when there was a chapel. Among the invitations was a request to attend the Women of the Year lunch in London as a guest of honour. She had never been to London before, so she prepared very carefully. Since she had no water on tap, her laundry had to be done in the reservoir below Low Birk Hatt. And the first new dress since her mother's funeral was purchased. After all, she was to stay at the Savoy Hotel and meet the grandest ladies in the land.
Heard so much about you. Who was looking after your farm today?
The neighbours looking after my farm.
It's not the most busy time of year, is it?
No, it's really the best time of year to be able to come. it's been a wonderful experience. But of course, it's been just for a while, I knew that, and I've enjoyed it very much. And I'm like the young Englishman in The Prisoner of Zenda. He was a king for a day, and I've been a lady of leisure for a few days. But now we're going home, and of course there is no place like home. There's my animals, the little dog.
And another winter to face. Winter always comes early to Baldersdale and leaves late. Low Birk Hatt Farm stands exposed to all the elements, 1,000 feet above sea level. Over the years, the strain of running a stock farm single-handed clearly began to take its toll physically. But Hannah showed no inclination to consider a more comfortable alternative.
Can I ask how old you are now, please?
55. On August, on the 1st of August, yes, double fives. Yes.
And how are you keeping? How's your health?
Oh, not really so bad. I've been blessed with a good physique, really. But one gets a bit tired. The old bones protest sometimes. And one's hands, they're not as nimble as they used to be. Oh, dear. It's as hard as nails. I think there's a little bit of rheumatism. It's just that, you know, I get across, I get impatient when I'm doing things, and they're not as nimble as one would like.
Do you not think you'd be more comfortable away from Low Birk Hatt and all its problems and all its responsibilities?
It's a two-sided thing, yes. One would. Yet one's attached to the place and the animals. One's as if there's a battle inside one. That's what I mean by the liking the cattle so much. In the place, they form chains, which sometimes I wish weren't there, but that's how it is. Well, this is Rosa, of course, the mother cow, and grandmother now. Two of her daughters, the oldest one, Puddles, and Patch. He's a grandson, Bubbles, the big one. And he's another grandson, the little Pickaboo. They're half-brothers, those two. And then half Christmas somewhere is behind Puddles. And the little heifer calf Bunty, yes. I sometimes think they're like me little family. And sometimes rather like children, especially the little ones, because you bring them up from babies. And of course, one day sometimes happens I'd either forgotten to shut the gate, and the door had been open. I must have been out, and the gate was open, and the door, and the kitchen wasn't as full as it is now, but there was only just a nice passageway, and so I came back to the house, and there was Whiskers, the tall, broad heifer along the passageway, and I thought, well, what am I going to do with her? She hadn't room to turn around. Anyhow, she rose to the occasion. She reversed, and all was well.
And what about when you have to send them to market, or when they get too old to live comfortably? I mean, what happens then?
That isn't a happy time. That's the biggest fault I have to animals. You become attached to them, and then you don't like parting with them. But that's the way it is. Partings do come. But I don't like to think about it.
Summer at Low Birk Hatt is spent in the main repairing the ravages of the previous winter. Dry stone walls are extremely vulnerable to frost. And raising a good crop of hay is another vital concern. Winter fodder for the cattle depends upon it. Hannah hires a man with the machinery to do it swiftly and efficiently, prepared to work far into the night to dodge bad weather. And as the nights draw in once again, Hannah has to contemplate the prospect of the end of another season and the start of the one she fears.
Ooh.
Sometimes the temperature drops so low that the stream flowing a few yards from her door, the principal source of water, freezes solid. And she's obliged to make the difficult downhill journey to the reservoir to fetch water for herself and the cattle.
One dreads the winters. I dread this one. I hope I'll be able to manage do my own turn. It isn't living during the winter months. In summer I live and in winter I exist. Ridiculous really that I haven't time or strength sometimes to attend to my own needs. Because I turn tired and then I have to stop and then perhaps after a meal and a lapse of time after that, I go out to work again. So I go out and sometimes turn out at 1 o'clock in the morning and sometimes work through the night and go to bed at daylight. And it's amazing what a cow drinks. There's an old saying, you never miss the water till the well runs dry, and you don't know how much water the cattle drink till you have it to carry. A time will come, perhaps pretty near, but it is a proper and a big upheaval, emotionally, physically, mentally. It's just as if my world was falling to pieces. Everything I've known and sure of, security, everything. I don't know how I'll leave here or how I'll feel after I have left. I don't know. It's my world. And I don't know. And it's lovely. I think lovely scenes. The moonlight on the water. I think one of the loveliest things. I've stood and watched many a time, even when I was sometimes tired, and in winter time, which I don't like the winter, but no, it's marvellous. And very lucky to live in such a lovely place.
In 1987, there was a significant move towards the serious consideration of leaving Low Birk Hatt. Hannah asked a valuer to survey her land, buildings and cattle, and invited a farmer friend to come and assist.
I think you made a ground, it's a little bit on the soft side, but we were working around looking for, well, I made a ground saying about £1,000 an acre for land. As soon as you get early, so when the years are beginning to go on, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Well, you see,
quite true.
I sold mine in spring.
Yes.
Just over 2.5 years ago, and that's the time that you first mentioned that you were thinking about doing the same as I did.
Yes,
isn't it?
Yes, probably. Yes, time goes on.
It does. It's gone on. And 2.5 years has gone by, and you're still here.
Yes, yes. Oh, well, you know, I'm not one to be rushed.
I know,
You know,
no, I can see that. I can see that. But what I would like to tell you, and a little bit of advice I would like to give you,
yes,
is please don't put it off too long.
No.
Urgent advice, which Hannah had heard many times during the last decade. It required contemplation over a long period. The emotional ties to the only home she had ever known were profound. One particular place was very special.
I always found solace and comfort and with the water. Even, as I've said, when the times when things weren't so good, I would come down here and to what I called my beloved Mississippi and Hunderbeck. I am happier through that iron gate, through here, than in my own fields. And the beauty, there's nowhere like, to me, there's nowhere like it. Never will be. And whatever I am, and wherever I am, this is me. This is my life. And if there's a funny old person in years to come, a ghost, walking up and down here, it'll be me. I've wandered up and down just for walks and sticks and stones, and which I've needed various things. But a big part of me, wherever I am, will be left here. That's me. That's nowhere else. There's nowhere like it.
In time, Hannah did go a stage further. She asked her friend, a journalist, Jim McTaggart, for advice about available property. Since Hannah would only consider property in the villages closest to Baldersdale, the search for a new home was prolonged. Eventually, she was sufficiently impressed by a cottage in Cotherston, which stands at the entrance to her dale, to make an appointment to view.
How long will you have been there, roughly?
Well, I'm 62, and I could probably was 3 when we came. I don't really know, but I
59 years or something.
Something like that. Yes, yes.
Well, I hope you have another 59 years at the cottage then.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We shall, in fact, make the arrangements with the solicitors for the rest of the formalities in that direction, so you don't need to worry any more about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Usually, when the leaves begin to fall, it strikes a bit of a chill to your heart. But this time, there's been the comforting thought that, well, I won't be here for the winter. Didn't me ever think it would come. Even now, sometimes I can't believe it's like sometimes as if it's something happening to somebody else rather than myself. But it's for the best, I think.
Tell me, who is this?
Oh, this is Rose.
Oh, the senior cat.
Yes, my lovely Rose. She did me a great favour in the winter when the electricity was off so long for about 3 or 4 days, and I had nothing to heat water with for hot drinks. And so I had Rose. I'm not a milk lover, but I had Rose's milk, and that was very welcome. And then sat in the stall next door to her, because it was warmer here than in the byre than in the house. No, I like her very much. She's lovely.
One assumes that it's going to be difficult to part with her, I assume.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes.
The day of the parting, but a satisfactory arrangement had been made.
Good friend and neighbours getting them, and I know he'll be good to them, and so that is very lucky in that respect. Look. Oh, fuck. Please, let's get to... Come on, Kush. good pets.
That's all right,
Hello
Hannah.
there.
We've got them now.
Yes.
No need to worry.
No, thank you very much.
Okay,
And
now don't worry about them. We'll
thank
sort
you
them out
very
for you.
much. I know they have a good home.
I'll have
And
the dash now.
it's not a road
Ta-da.
for dawdling. Goodbye.
Low Birk Hatt Farm was offered for sale by private treaty in 3 sections. But Hannah's personal effects were to be publicly auctioned. Before that could happen, the residue of several decades of hoarding had to be disposed of. The house, land, and all outbuildings raised enough money to pay for her new home outright. And there was enough remaining to ensure that with careful investment, there would be a comfortable income for the rest of Hannah's life. Hannah's name will live on in Baldersdale after her departure. Her main pasture, one of the 3 sections, turned out to be a haven of rare wild flowers and grasses. The Hauxwells had never used inorganic or chemical fertilizers on their land, so it was totally untainted and considered unique in the area. A local wildlife trust concluded the pasture to be so important that they secured a substantial grant from an international wildlife organization and made a successful bid. It will be preserved for all time in the Hauxwell Manor and named after Hannah. The day of the sale. Given the chance, she wouldn't have parted with one stick of the family furniture. She reserved enough to more than fill the cottage in Cotherston, but some of the larger pieces had to be sacrificed, including her 4-poster bed.
Mr. Linus.
It's funny to think that, you know, there'll be somebody else's and not part of your life anymore. But I'm a bit daft anyway. I get attached to things, too much so. I know it is a failing, because there is more important things. People are more important. But it's a failing I have, and I think the leopard doesn't change its spots. I'm too old, so I just go on liking things and likely hoarding them and keeping too many also. It's a case of off with the old and on with the new. How I'm going to do it, that's another story. I've that to find out. But still, there's lots of things to look forward to and lots of things to be grateful for. And if people have their health and their eyesight and good friends, a lot to be thankful for.
Everyone wishes you well, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before she departed Baldersdale, Hannah Hauxwell had a sharp reminder of just what she would leave behind. The winter of 1988-1989 will be remembered generally as mild and benign, but in Baldersdale, the snowdrifts were as deep as usual.
Whatever I am, wherever I am, this is me.